Hi there, and welcome to this short video comparison of three of the current top rugged Android phones available on the market in the UK today. In front of us on the table here we have, starting from the right, the Cat B15, then in the middle we have the Smart&Tough Stealth Extreme, and then on the far left the Smart&Tough Stealth. Underneath each one of the phones there you can see their current street price, average selling price, based on a look at Amazon today. The Cat B15 around about £300, the Stealth Extreme about £250, and the Stealth around about £200. The purpose of this video is going to be just to give a quick comparison of these three devices, a little rundown about what's different between them, and help you to understand which one might be right for your particular purposes. The first thing I'm going to look at is the benchmark scores that these phones achieve. The Cat B15 is a dual-core 1 GHz device, as is the BWC Stealth. The Stealth Extreme is a quad-core device running at 1.2 GHz. So, as you can see, if I turn the phones on, I've run the Antutu benchmark on each one, and the results are: the B15 has the lowest score of 7,735, followed by the Stealth with 10,874, and top of the line, the Stealth Extreme at 13,253. Pretty much as you'd expect, with the Stealth Extreme being a quad-core running at a slightly higher clock speed. But it is surprising that the Cat and the Stealth have such a radical difference in their scores, particularly when you consider the extra cost of the Cat. Now then, looking a little bit closer at the form factors, since these two are the two closest in terms of performance, it's worth looking at the build quality. As you can see, the Stealth is a little bit bigger, not a lot, but it is a little bit bigger, even though the screen sizes are identical, and the screen resolutions are identical also on these two devices. I actually think that the Stealth has a slightly brighter screen. The Cat's screen looks a bit washed out by comparison. I don't know if that comes across in the video, but certainly in real life that's very clear. Both devices are running Android Jelly Bean. I just go into the settings on both. You can see. Oops. The Cat B15 runs 4.1.2 Android Jelly Bean, whereas the Stealth runs 4.2.2 Android Jelly Bean, which isn't massively significant in terms of the difference, but it is interesting that the Stealth is that little bit more advanced. If you look at the phone's side on, you can see the Stealth is a lot slimmer, and certainly I can tell it's a lot lighter. I would say it's maybe a third as light again as the Extreme. The Extreme feels a lot more rugged, a lot more resilient. It feels like it could take a knock. I'm not going to throw them around the place, but it does feel like it'd be more resilient if I was to do so. If you look at the ports, both of them have port covers. The B15 has a simple plug there for the headphones, and another plug on the side for the USB. The B15 does require a special USB cable. It is quite expensive if you lose the one that comes with it as well. The Extreme has a much more robust plug in the top, which covers both a standard micro USB port and a headphone socket, and there's quite a good seal around there. If you look at the Extreme on the same basis, comparing it with the B15, it's much bigger, really considerably bigger, and it feels a lot heavier, and that's also reflected in the battery life. The Stealth Extreme it feels like a very serious bit of kit in your hand. The plugs on the USB port are massive, very, very safe. I would imagine that they will take a lot of getting past. Certainly it's going to take more than a bit of a shower. Separate plug for the headset there. And as I said, a slightly higher resolution screen on the Stealth Extreme. This is 960 by 480, whereas these two are 800 by 480. Just looking at the cameras, the Stealth and the B15 each have a 5 megapixel camera, whereas the Extreme has a 8 megapixel camera on the back, and all three have front-facing video conferencing cameras also. These two have a flash, this one does not. It's also interesting the way that the back cover's open. On the B15 you have a sliding latch and then a cover that you kind of prise off, easy with a screwdriver. And I have to say that doesn't feel very satisfactory. I'd be surprised if that was waterproof. The other two use a screw system. You need to use a screwdriver, which is a little bit less convenient, but I think it leads to ultimately to a better seal. With the Stealth, yeah, as I said, a little bit less convenient. It's hard to know when you finally got it off. The Stealth and the Cat both have removable batteries. This one 3000 milliamp hour. And this one 2000 milliamp hour. The Stealth Extreme does not have a removable battery. It has a built-in battery, but it's actually 2800 milliamp hour, so it's bigger still. Both of the BWC products have dual SIM as standard. The B15 has single SIM as standard and dual SIM as an upgrade. And all three phones will accept a micro SD card up to 64 gigabytes to provide the enhanced memory. All three of the phones have 4 gig of memory built in as standard. Okay, so that's the lowdown on these three rugged phones. If I was to choose, I have to say I think I would go for this one, primarily because of the price. Although this is a really capable device.